Racist bully attacks black teacher in lab. He didn't know about her military past. It happened so fast, no one had time to breathe. One moment, the chemistry lab buzzed with the usual chatter of teenagers. The next, a student named Brandon Blake had his hand wrapped tightly around Miss Selina Carter's throat, slamming her against the wall. Glassware rattled. A faint hiss escaped from an open gas valve. Everyone froze. Everyone except Miss Carter. Her dark eyes didn't widen in fear. They didn't beg for help. Instead, they locked on Brandon's with razor-sharp calm, as though she'd stared down threats far more dangerous than an entitled teenager. And in the next 5 seconds, something would happen that would end Brandon's arrogance, turn Westbridge High upside down, and reveal who Miss Carter truly was. The first rays of sunlight stretched across Westbridge High as students shuffled through the double doors. To most, it was just another ordinary school day. Homework due, gossip swirling, lockers slamming. But in room 204, inside the chemistry lab, the chain of events already set in motion would become the one story no one at Westbridge ever forgot. At the center of it stood Miss Selina Carter. She was the new chemistry teacher, mid-30s, with a sharp gaze that commanded silence the moment she entered a room. Not too young, not old. She carried herself with a presence that unsettled her students. Rumors clung to her like shadows. Why always long sleeves, even in summer? Why the perfect, military straight posture? Why the eyes that seemed to look straight through you? Some said she was divorced. Others whispered she was hiding scars. A few believed she'd lived an entirely different life before becoming a teacher. But no one really knew. And in every school, there's always one student who thinks he owns the place. At Westbridge, that was Brandon Blake. Brandon was the son of Charles Blake, a wealthy developer who practically owned half the businesses in town. Teachers gave Brandon leeway because they didn't want to deal with his father's influence. Tall, broad-shouldered, and smug, he walked the halls like he was untouchable. He mocked, shoved, cheated, and lied without fear. Most teachers either turned a blind eye or stumbled through confrontations with him. But Miss Carter, she didn't stumble. She didn't flinch. Her steady gaze cut straight through his arrogance. And for the first time in his life, Brandon felt uneasy. And he hated it. On that Thursday morning, the class was halfway through an experiment. The smell of chemicals hung in the air. Brandon leaned against his workstation at the back, arms folded, his friends laughing at his side. "Hey, Miss Carter," he called loudly, smirking. "Are you even a real teacher? Or is this just a side gig so you can pay rent?" Laughter rippled through the room. Miss Carter didn't even look at him. Calmly, she said, "Focus on your experiment, Brandon. Your solution is about to boil over." The dismissal stung. His jaw tightened. Nobody dismissed Brandon Blake. "Don't tell me what to do," he snapped. "You're not my boss. My dad pays your salary." The room went quiet. All eyes flicked to her. Slowly, Miss Carter turned and fixed him with a stare colder than steel. "Your father's money doesn't run this classroom. Sit down." Her voice didn't rise, but it cut through the air with absolute authority. For a split second, Brandon's confidence faltered. His heart skipped. But pride poisoned him, and pride demanded he not back down. Not in front of his friends. With a scowl, he slammed his notebook shut, stood, and stepped closer. "Or what?" he demanded. "What are you going to do if I don't sit down?" Her expression didn't waver. Her stillness was unnerving. Her composure, mistaken for weakness. And that was when Brandon made the worst mistake of his life. With sudden violence, Brandon lunged forward. His hand clamped around Miss Carter's throat, pinning her against the counter. Gasps erupted. Chairs scraped back. Phones slipped out of pockets. "You gonna boss me around now?" he spat, tightening his grip. And then, everything changed. Miss Carter's eyes narrowed. The mask of just a teacher dropped. Her hand shot up like lightning, seizing Brandon's wrist with an iron grip. His smirk faltered. In a flash, she struck his elbow, bending it painfully backward. Brandon's face contorted with shock as he cried out. Before he could react, she spun free, slammed him chest first against the counter, and twisted his arm behind his back in a lock so precise and unyielding it spoke of training no one could deny. The lab fell silent except for Brandon's pained groans. "You don't know who you're dealing with," Miss Carter whispered, her voice low, deadly, and carrying across the frozen room. Brandon struggled, but the more he fought, the tighter her hold became. His friends didn't move. Not one dared intervene. For the first time in his life, Brandon Blake wasn't in control. He was broken. "Apologize," Miss Carter ordered. Her tone was steady, sharp as glass. "I'm sorry," Brandon stammered, sweat rolling down his temple. Louder. "I'm sorry." Only then did she release him. He stumbled forward, clutching his arm, his face pale, stripped of all arrogance. The class sat frozen. No one laughed. No one whispered. Every student knew they had just seen something they'd never forget. Miss Carter smoothed the cuffs of her blouse, her posture calm, unshaken. But her eyes carried the weight of a storm, a past that none of them could imagine. "Class dismissed," she said. One by one, students slipped out silently, glancing back at her as if seeing her for the very first time. By lunch, whispers spread through every hallway of Westbridge High. The teacher wasn't just a teacher. She was something else, something dangerous. And Brandon Blake, the untouchable bully, had been humbled in front of everyone. Not by threats, not by begging, but by precision, skill, and unshakable authority. That day, Brandon learned the truth. Money can bend rules by silence, even shield arrogance for a time. But it cannot by respect. And one day, you'll always meet someone who can't be bought. For Brandon, that day had come in the form of Miss Selina Carter, the teacher with a past far greater and far more dangerous than anyone had guessed.